Today we're going to be exploring the ruins and what's left of Hitler's former home here in Berchtesgaden, in the Obersalzberg area, his Berghof home. So we have a slightly interesting video today. We're going to be exploring the ruins of the Berghof here in Berchtesgaden. The Berghof is Hitler's former home. Now there's often a misconception that his home was the Eagle's Nest, but actually the Eagle's Nest was almost like an afternoon tea room, a place to visit, a place to take dignitaries, to impress them. His actual home was slightly further down the hill, and it was right here in the woods on the mountainside. The Berghof, his former home, and we're going to explore the ruins of it today. So the first place we're going to check out is actually this right here. This was the SS guard house, the little post where the last guard would be before going around this corner to Hitler's home, to the Berghof. You'd come here, you'd get checked in. Of course there would be numerous security points prior to this, but you would come through. This would be your final kind of check-in, and you would go round this corner to his home itself. This building here was commandeered as an SS guardhouse overlooking his home. And here we go, round the corner to his home. So we just come round the corner here, that guardhouse was just up there, and as we come round, the first place we're actually going to go is into the kind of the back way into the home. This would have been like the service area where, you know, bread and things like that were delivered in the morning. We're going to go this way, then later on we're going to come round and talk about the front and where the entrance to the driveway would have been. Now, as I mentioned, this area was heavily destroyed. It was destroyed by Allied bombings in May, and in fact April, and then again in May 1945. But there's still some bits that we can go and take a look at, and we will tell the story of that as we go. So as I've already mentioned, the actual house is almost completely destroyed. It was hit heavily by Allied bombing on the 25th of April 1945. Soon after that, as the SS retreated from this area, they actually set fire to the house here. And so it was almost completely destroyed back then. It was later blown up completely to remove the ruins. That was because they didn't want this being used as any kind of a shrine, or maybe where people would visit for the wrong reasons. And I understand that. I think that's probably for the best, but that's why there is very little here, but we can still explore and have a look at a couple of the bits that are here. As you come up from that service entrance where we were just now, you come through where you can see some remaining structure. We're going to talk about that wall in just a second. First place we're going to go, and probably one of the more interesting spots, is over here to the right hand side in what would have been one of the main rooms here at the Berghof. So this area where we are right now, this would have been kind of the main front room of the house. And in this room was a huge window. It was actually a window that could be lowered, so it could be kind of turned into sort of an open air area on the front. And there are pictures, in fact some famous pictures of the man himself stood in front of this window. But you can see why he would have a window here. Pure evil, but a good taste for a view. This was the view looking out the front of that giant window across the mountains here. I'm going to put a couple of those photos into the video here so you can see what that would look like. It would have been right across the front here with that view behind. Back over in this direction with the main window behind me. Over here through the trees you can see this little sort of area here with some white stone. That is where there would have been a huge fireplace, would have sat right there, and the actual foundations of the fireplace are still there. You can see where that would have been built and come up out of the ground. And in a few other places around here, there's a couple of other foundation bits as well, a couple of sort of steel bars coming out of the floor, probably for a structural wall, and A couple of other bits of stone that would have been part of the structure still remain kind of sticking out of the floor in some places here. But back over there, main windows behind us here. Back over there is where the fireplace would have been. Over in the back of the remains of the property here, you do have this large wall. This isn't the internal wall of the back of the home. This was kind of like the sort of retaining wall that would have been out the back of the property. The only reason this still remains is to hold up the mountainside here to prevent a rock slide. It's the only kind of physical piece of structure really that remains on the site here, but it's not an actual wall from the house itself. Kind of moving up to the back end of the property now, where we were with the giant window was over there, and then the fireplace was over in that direction. And this is sort of the back, this is still part of the back retaining wall that's there, but we're kind of down to sort of the other end of the property. You have to remember this was big. Once it had been redeveloped, this was a big area. It was kind of a long sort of thinner home because of where it was on the mountainside, but it would have sat right across us here. So you can see just below us here, this is where the driveway would have come up. And in fact, we're just going to go somewhere down in this direction to look at something else that is interesting on the slightly lower level to where we are, right here. Okay, so I mentioned there was somewhere over this side where I wanted to go, and it is just down here. We have to work our way down this hillside slightly. It's a bit slippy, but I think we can make it down there, and I'll show you what we're looking at. So as we've come down from the path, just on our route down to where we're headed here, you can see there's a little bit more of some kind of wall structure right here, probably formed sort of part of the terrace here or something like that. We're just down from where the house was up there. So we've worked our way down slightly from where we were just up the hill. Below the Berghof home, Hitler would have had a large bunker. Of course, it was a defensive bunker or air raid bunker. And from that bunker, there was an escape route. And that is where we have come down to right now. This is the external door that comes out from that bunker underneath the home. The house itself would have been just above us here on the hill. And this is where that would have come out from the bunker. There would have been access here to kind of like a side entrance, so that Hitler could have escaped into a vehicle here pretty quickly if needed. But this is where that bunker door comes out. Of course, it is locked. It's been locked for a long time. It would, of course, be fascinating to see what's in there, but it is locked away today. So Hitler first moved into this area in 1928. He rented what was a relatively small house here at the time. In 1933, he then bought that home, and 1935 to 1936, it was redeveloped into the much larger Berghof home, where Hitler then lived right here on the mountainside. I'm just walking back down that service road now, and we're going to head round to where the driveway entrance was. I just thought I'd share my feelings on it. I've been up here on my own for the majority of the time here. There was one other guy walking around, but pretty much on my own. It's quiet. Once you're into the trees, it's a little dark in there, and you know what? It is genuinely creepy. It's almost like you can feel the evil in the air. I know that sounds weird. I talked about you kind of feel sort of the gravity of what happened when you're in places like the Somme. Here, honestly, you can feel the evil. It sends a chill down the spine. So we've just come down now to where the driveway entrance to the home would have been. That would have been this area just here behind me. Now, in case you hadn't heard, the Nazis loved a bit of propaganda, and one of the things that they would do here was invite children up to visit Hitler's home. They would come round that corner where we were just now, past the guardhouse, and they would file past here, and as they came round that corner, just here at the end of the driveway, they would see Hitler himself waving to the children. Sometimes a few of them would be invited up and taken up to sort of the terrace area. Again, that was for the purpose of propaganda photos to be taken and trying to engage the younger age group and the future of the Nazi party. But Hitler would come right here to the end of the driveway and visit the children, who would come just here to get a glimpse of the Führer. So the driveway would have worked its way through kind of pretty much where we're walking now. This would have been the sort of other side of the driveway, and it would have led up this way here to just below where we were stood. So where we were stood with the window is kind of up sort of here, and this is where the driveway would go through. So Hitler would come through in his heavily armoured car, armoured Mercedes, be driven up here and dropped off right outside the front of his home. Now I think we should probably finish this visit right here in front of the view where that window would have been. And whenever you come here, I think it's important to remember there's a beautiful view, beautiful scenery, but we are in a place of pure evil. This is where Hitler would have sat, planned things like Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of Russia, the invasion of Poland. He would have planned things like the final solution and awful things in history that were dreamt up by a man sat right here. And I think when you think about things like that, when you're stood here, it brings home the reality of where you are. And whilst it's a great place to visit and it's an impressive place to be, it is in no way a place to be celebrated. And I think it is probably for the best that it has been almost completely destroyed, because otherwise you might get the wrong type of visitor to a place like this. Wow. I'm glad we got the chance to come here, the chance to explore. Hopefully you found it interesting, and hopefully you learned a couple of bits about the site here. That is Hitler's Berghof home here on the side of the mountain overlooking Berchtesgaden. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one.